guys, it's Grant Monnier, the Eco Artist. I'm here at the Treffert Center, and I'm going to be interviewing my friend, Spencer. Spencer has been doing judo, and he is going to be telling us all about his experience in that competition, in that field, and if you listen closely, you may just hear some positive messages from him.
Thank you so much, Grant. Yep, I'll be talking about mental, but also physical. I can't wait to see you guys on the other side.
So Spencer, how long have you been doing judo?
You know, Grant, that's an interesting question. I've been doing judo for about... That's how long I've been doing judo, 20 years. So it's been a long, interesting time of judo. But, you know, the 20 years have been flying by because every year it seems that the more that I do it, the more that I think I don't really know how much there is to learn. A good example for that is like math, you know? You think you know addition, but then you kind of learn a little bit more and you see like division, multiplication. It's insane how much different moves can go to different areas.
That's true. I can agree with that. So Spencer, I heard you have a tournament coming up this weekend. Can you tell us about it?
I do, yes. Thank you, Grant. So this tournament is going to be let me backtrack just a little bit. So there's 2 tournaments a year where nationals come into play. And so you see what nationals does is if you score 4th to 1st place, what happens is there's 1 first place, there's 2 second places, and 2 third places. And through these, because since it's repertoires, if you lose one, you're automatically out unless the person gets back to the semifinals, the first person that beats you.
Oh.
And so these 2 tournaments in particular are the only tournaments that give you points to make the United States team. And the competition that I'm facing is seniors. And what seniors does is if you get enough points, you can go to across the globe, and you can compete. For some tournaments like Budapest, you need to be an A-list judo player. And how to be an A-list judo player is that you need to acquire enough points internationally. And so this is the first grassroots stepping stone to get to the next level. So that's what nationals is.
Wow. Oh, that sounds like real fun and good competition too.
Oh yeah.
Excited for it?
Oh, I've been dreaming about this. I'm ready to, like they say, when you battle somebody in the heat of the moment, you may dislike them, but you build a bond that you never thought you'd build with them because you both have the same mission. And that mission is to dominate the mat. But at the same time, once you're done, you respect them for what they've done to achieve to get to that level. So it's so funny how so many people can come together from different aspects, from lawyers to doctors to general surgeons, even to military people. And I met this colonel who did judo, and he was a green belt, and he was so humble. And it was amazing how we all came together from one like-minded thing. It was fantastic.
Wow. It sounds like being a part of judo, you have met some very, very interesting people, just from that sound of the colonel.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, if we look back at life, you got to do things that are intentional. And through that, judo has been a way for me to meet these people, but I've had to get outside my comfort zone. I've had to travel to different places. A good example is every year, me and my mom go down to this spot in North Carolina. It's called the Greatest Camp on Earth. It's kind of a cheesy name, but more importantly, we've been doing it for 8 years, and the North Carolina, they treat us like hospitality. They have this amazing southern accent. First year I was super scared, but every year they've grown on me, and I always look forward to meet them again. And every year we'll have a bonfire. We'll go to one of their houses, and it's amazing how many cool people you meet. But you got to be intentional with whatever you do. You can't be on the sidelines.
That's right, and I can relate to that story of yours because I go around traveling, showing people my art and teach people how to be eco-friendly and how to be green and clean. And of course, create eco-art.
Grant, that's amazing. If we're talking about art, this is Grant's right here.
This is Devok. And of
gosh.
course, Devok is actually the word COVID backwards.
What?
That's right. I made him during the 2020. That's around the time when COVID got started. He is part of my jewelry collection. And you can learn more about him on my website, jigsawgrant.com.
Well, you know what? I think I'll have to interview you after this. That's what I'm going to do.
I look forward to that.
Good question.
So Spencer, what is the hardest aspect of competing at this level?
Grant, that's an amazing question. You know, for everybody, it may be a little different, but for me, the feeling of it is the week before, the day before you get on the mat, even right when you get on that mat, you get this fear, the fear of, have I worked hard enough? Have I done it at enough times? Did I do enough uchikomis, meaning practice throws? Did I intentionally visualize this every day? Because, as you know, when you get to senior nationals, it's not a game. It's putting your life on the line, physically and mentally, because there's some things that can happen, but at the same time, it's, are you mentally prepared to go in battle? And through that, what I love about it so much is I turn that weakness of fear and doubt and extreme uncomfortability into life. A good example is this interview. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, I may not look like I'm scared, but every time I do an interview, it is a scary feeling. Don't get me wrong. There's always butterflies in my stomach. But I turn that feeling and I leverage it into a smile on my face. And I know what? I'm growing. I'm going to become a better person. And so through that, that was my number one fear. And that's what I love. I love to take my fears into my strengths.
You know, hearing your story, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, and I'm one of those kind of people. Because when I used to start out with doing my art and going to art shows and other galleries and events, I was a tad bit nervous too. But you work through that. You expose yourself, you go out and do it more and more, and eventually you get comfortable with it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I remember talking to you in private a few times and asking, Grant, how do you do these things? Coming from a person who does one of these paintings and saying, oh, you know, that's pretty cool. But then looking at one of those, and of course, I don't want to embarrass you, but one of these paintings went for $5,000. And I asked you, how did you do it? You said, one step over another. You just do it. But you take little intentional steps over time. And of course, the financial gain is awesome, but what was cool for me was you're doing all these different things. Like you wrote a child's book, you do this, you're going to college, you're diversifying yourself so much, and you see people like us, or even adults, or even grandparents that are not too scared, but they feel like they just don't know what to do, and they feel trapped. And then when I see a person like you, Grant, who does all these amazing things, it inspires me. It puts a burning sensation in my heart and my soul, and I'm like, I gotta get to the next level.
Thank you, Spencer.
I gotta chase you down, Grant.
Oh, you hear that, folks? He's gonna chase me down.
That's
Thank
right,
you, Spencer.
Iron sharpens iron. Find someone, an adversary, turn them into your friend, get them in your close-knit circle. Find that somebody. If someone beats you, get them in your circle. Don't get someone in your circle that's not below you, but just doesn't want to be a better person. And that's not to be blunt or anything, but take, for instance, the example. I'm a terrible runner. I do not get a runner's high, but I love the feeling afterwards that it feels like $1 million. And one of my good friends, he runs a 5-minute mile, and he's insane. And so in order to catch up to me, and my average time was about 11 minutes, is that I literally sprint. But I kind of knew, after working with him for a few times, my mile kept getting shaped. Went from 10 minutes to 9 minutes, and now I'm at 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wow.
But through that, it was a challenge, and I think so much of us in society, not trying to get off point here, but sometimes we kind of forget about what makes us uncomfortable is what life is. Life is challenge. Life is the relationships that we create and the leverage that we can pursue to the next level. And that's what I love about this conversation, Grant.
I'm loving this conversation too. You have a lot to tell us. You ever thought about having your own podcast?
You know, Grant, I'm thinking about, going on your podcast, then you can go on my podcast.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
That'd be very cool. But guys,
that'd be a lot of fun.
If you guys like this conversation, let us know, and we'll definitely get you guys on the podcast too, and all that stuff.
That's right. Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
Why do you choose to participate in these events?
That's a great question, Grant. The reason why I participate, people could probably already know the answer, but sometimes you gotta just keep saying it over and over. I think repetition is the mother of skill. I don't think you can learn something too long. I think we have to keep using it, otherwise we lose it. We don't use it, we lose it. And through that question, Grant, I think the number one thing is to intentionally get myself in uncomfortable situations. A lot of people say, that's insane, Spencer. Aren't you gonna like burn yourself out? And yes, sometimes I've burned myself out, but through life's experiences, I've understood what I can do to leverage myself. A good example is I love to talk to my grandma. I love to leverage myself in positive things. For me, talking to another person about like-minded things, there's no better feeling than this. So I use these feelings to inspire not just myself, but other people, to let them know, not to impress them, but to express to them that an average person like myself, and like you, Grant, can do amazing things. We're just average people making great decisions. That's all we are. People put you on a high pedestal, but you're just an average person making great decisions. And not to offend you by that, by any means.
It's okay, I'm
but
not offended.
Honestly, looking at the biography that you've done, I'm just like, wow. I'm literally in awe. I'm inspired. More than a lot of people would know, because sometimes you took what you've done and you used it, and you didn't ask for anybody's help. You just kind of did it. Of course, you had your mama's support, but you could have had a lot of justification and said, hey, I just don't want to do this. It's pretty scary. But you went through that. And I feel like getting through that fear, the other side of fear is amazing growth. It's an amazing feeling that you can't describe unless you go through that feeling. And I think that's where my addiction comes from. I love to get to the other side. Even if I have to crawl the other side, I'm going to get to the other side.
That's funny. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Spencer. And thank you for answering my questions.
Grant, likewise. But I'm going to go on your podcast, you know.
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a good time. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have, click the subscribe button.
We'll see you guys later.